We have a bunch of free step-by-step tutorials for you on this channel for how to find flight deals with specific airlines or credit card programs. But what if you wanted to find all the available flight deals possible? If you're looking for some flight search tools that are either free or have free trials, this is the video for you, so let's jump right in. Before you start searching for the actual award flights, it's best to figure out what to even search for. And one of my favorite tools for doing this is flight connections, because if you're flying out of a smaller airport and you're like, hey, I really want to get from Des Moines over to Norway or something like that, there is not going to be a direct flight. If you just start searching for Des Moines to Oslo or Bergen, Norway, you're going to be frustrated because it's not going to come up with any results. So there are a couple of tools to help you with this. The first one is flightconnections.com, which is completely free. And what you would do is you would just search from Des Moines, and this will tell you all of the different airports that you can connect to from here. So from here, you could go to Chicago, you could go to Minneapolis, you can go to Detroit, you can go to Atlanta, New York. There are lots of connecting airports that you can choose. And once you position to one of these larger airports, then you can connect overseas from there, since Des Moines does not connect anywhere internationally. And you can do the same thing when you are searching to fly into a smaller airport. So let's say that you wanted to fly into Bergen, Norway. This doesn't connect to anywhere in the US, but it does connect to larger airports in Europe. Like if you wanted to connect through Frankfurt, that's an option. And you can also click on these and see what airlines service them. So this would be through Lufthansa. You could connect through Paris on either Norwegian or Air France. So you could book through Air France KLM Flying Blue. Same if you wanted to do through Amsterdam. If you want to connect through London, you're probably going to have some higher taxes and fees that way, but you could go through Gatwick if you wanted to fly Norwegian. You could fly Iberia from Spain. So this is a way to figure out what airlines you can even fly to get to the airport of your choice. Another way to do this is to just Google Wikipedia, whatever airport you are trying to fly through. And every airport is going to have a Wikipedia page, which has a very, very handy table with all of the different airlines and all of the different destinations serviced by that airline. So I searched for Istanbul Airport, and there are a ton of different airlines that connect through here. And here's all of the different destinations that you can connect to through Istanbul using these different airlines. So P.S. if you're looking for award flights, Turkish Airlines is a fantastic option because Istanbul is the most connected international airport in the world that connects to more countries than anywhere else because geographically it's right in the middle of the world. So this is a way to figure out all of your different options. And you can do this for smaller airports too. Like if we were to search for Wikipedia Key West Airport, you have a smaller airport. You're like, okay, what can I even fly to get into here? For Key West, it's such a small airport, so your options are going to be American Airlines. You could fly Allegiant Air if you really wanted to. You have a Delta flight through Atlanta. And this is another way to figure out what your airline options are, so then you can search for your flights from there. If you're just getting started with points and miles, we offer a free Points and Miles 101 course for you to help you earn and redeem points for your first redemption. The free course covers the industry lingo, impacts to your credit score, how to get free upgrades by sending a quick email, and how to easily get top-tier status with many of your favorite airlines and hotel chains. You can grab the free course at geobreezetravel.com/free course or check out the link in the description box. So now that you know what routes to search for by using Wikipedia or flightconnections.com, where do you actually plug that route into? Here are a few of my favorite flight award search engines, and all of them have some kind of free version or free trial that you can use. So let's say, okay, I've used flightconnections.com based in Des Moines, and I now know that I have to position to one of these larger airports in order to get anywhere close to Europe. Where do I go? One thing you could do is use the following award search engines and search for all the major airports into where you want to go in Europe. So let's say that you wanted to get from Des Moines over to Paris, France. What you could do is say, okay, the closest major airport here is Chicago. I'm going to use this site rome.travel and search for Chicago over to France. You do need to specify a date and then just click go, and it'll give you the different results. Here's the tricky thing about this. I would not consider this a good deal. If you are flying from Chicago over to France, that's probably a 7 or 8 hour flight. I would want to pay 70 or 80,000 points or less for that flight. These are coming in a little bit too expensive for me, so this is where it can take you some time, is to try to figure out exactly what dates to search for, which can make this a lot harder. However, Rome does have a nice newsletter that you can sign up for, and it's completely free. And they will send you different award searches that they have found that are great deals. So here you can fly first class Europe for 75,000 miles and business class starting at 25,000 miles. So you might have to be a little bit more flexible on your routes and your dates, but here they're saying that you could fly Air Tahiti business class from Los Angeles to Paris on August 4. And the really nice thing about this is if you just click on this picture, it will automatically pull up Rome and type in the search parameters and the date that you want to search for. So if you're okay on August 4, this is not intuitive that if you wanted to go to France, we should actually go backwards to Los Angeles and then go over to France. So that could take you a lot of time to find on your own, but with the Rome free newsletter, it'll just say, hey, if you want to position to Los Angeles, then go to France from there on August 4, you could fly Air Tahiti Nui in business class, which again, people probably wouldn't know to search for, and then you would just need to move built points over to American Airlines, or if you have American Airlines miles, you could book this for 57.5 thousand points plus $5.60. So that is a really handy tool as well, if you don't want to go through searching for every single date on this free award search tool. They do have a paid version as well, where if you wanted to upgrade, you do have the free version where you can just search for different flights that you want, as I just showed you. And then if you wanted to upgrade to the pro version, you have advanced filtering, and you also have access to new products. So back on this page, what the advanced filtering would be like, if you wanted to say, oh, I only want to see things that are with American Airlines because I have a bunch of American Airlines points, you can't filter by airlines. You would need to have Pro in order to do this feature. Same with cards. If you're like, I only have Capital One points that I want to use, that is where the Pro version would come into play. There are a couple other search engines like Rome as well. One of them is AwardLogic. This is a paid one as well. I think my promo code still works. If you want to go to geobreezetravel.com/AwardLogic, you do get a free 24-hour trial by doing that. And it works exactly the same, where you would search for airport A to airport B, type in your dates, and this one does give you a 2-day fuzzy search window. So if you are just a couple days off and you have that kind of flexibility, it'll give you suggestions on maybe you should fly on this date instead. And then you can search for the number of passengers and whether you want to do business class or economy. So AwardLogic is another option. There's also PointMe, which is a paid search tool, works exactly the same. You specify if you want business or first class from airport A to airport B, and then click go. There is a fun trick with PointMe where you can access it for free, because usually it's about $5 per day if you wanted to search here. But if you just download the Built app, which is free to download, you can actually access PointMe for free through the Built app. It only works on the Built transfer partners, but Built has some of the best transfer partners. Like you can search Air Canada through there, American Airlines, British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, United, and with these different airlines, I think you'll hit pretty much every major airline or alliance anyway. Like if you wanted to search for something through Star Alliance, you can search using United or Air Canada here. If you wanted to search for partner award availability with oneworld, they do have American Airlines and British Airways. If you are looking to do SkyTeam, they have Flying Blue, Air France, KLM. They also have Virgin Atlantic. So you have most of your bases covered if you just want to use the free version of PointMe through the Built app. The great thing about tools like Rome.travel, AwardLogic, and PointMe is that they will also indicate what types of points you need to earn for a particular flight redemption, so that you can use that information to help guide what card to get next. Hint, hint, you'll likely get the most value out of getting cards that have flexible points that you can move to lots of different programs. That means cards that earn Chase Ultimate Rewards points, Amex membership points, Capital One points, Citi Thank You points, or Built points. If you're looking to earn more points through a new credit card, we would greatly appreciate it if you use our links at geobreezetravel.com/cards next time that you're in the market for a new card. And if you're not sure what card is right for you, I offer free credit card consultations at geobreezetravel.com/consultations. Also though, if you're looking to earn more points without opening up more and more credit cards, I totally get it. I go over some of my favorite methods to earn more points, like stacking, reimbursable spending, and status matching in a free webinar called You Don't Need 20 Cards, and you can sign up for the free webinar by going to geobreezetravel.com/webinar. Search engines like Rome.travel, AwardLogic, and PointMe are great if you know the specific route that you want to book. But what if you're flexible and you just want to see what's available in general, whether it's for a particular airline or just a super general best way to get from North America to Asia on points? Well, that's where the following search tools will come into play.
So the award search engines that we just covered, like Rome.travel and PointMe and AwardLogic, are great if you already know you want to fly from airport A to airport B on this particular date and you want to see what the best availability is and what the best points route would be for that particular date. However, if the question you're trying to ask is instead, what date should I be flying, or where is there any award availability I'm flexible on dates or routes or whatever, the following tools might be a little bit more useful for you. So one of them is SeatSpy. This one has a free trial. We're going to go over Expert Flyer, which has a free trial as well, and what you can get with the free version of seats.aero. So let's start with SeatSpy. I believe this company is based in the UK, so it only works on a selected number of airlines, but they are ones that tend to frequent routes through the UK. So you have Air France, British Airways, American Airlines, United, Virgin Atlantic, and a few other ones. So let's say we wanted to search for availability on Virgin Atlantic from Orlando over to Manchester. If you're not aware of that route and you're based in Orlando, it is a pretty good route for finding availability over to the UK. So let's go ahead and click search and see what we can find here. And what you're going to find with SeatSpy is a graph that looks like this, where it says, here are the days where you're going to find some economy availability, premium, and upper class with Virgin Atlantic for this route from Orlando over to Manchester. So if you wanted to fly in the beginning of November, there's not going to be a lot there. But if you wanted to really maximize your chances of finding upper class, then you would use maybe April as your date. You could also scroll down here and see what your options are from Orlando over to Manchester and then Manchester back over to Orlando. So it looks like there's a lot of availability in April. If you wanted to fly on, let's say, April 7, there are 2 seats available in this upper class for this particular flight. This one has 0. This one has 1 for one of the flights. Looks like they're operating a couple flights a day. April 10 has quite a bit of availability, 5 seats in upper class on one of the flights, 2 on the other one. And it'll also tell you how many points and taxes you can expect to pay. And then you can do the same thing to figure out, okay, if I'm flying out on April 10, maybe I want to fly back on 14th, 21st, 20th. So this one has 9 seats available on one of the flights, which is really good. So that's what you can get with a free trial of SeatSpy. This is a really good way to figure out if you are trying to do a particular route and you are flexible on dates, what month and what days would be the best option for you. All right, let's talk about Expert Flyer, where you can search for a particular route as well and get award alerts when it opens up. Let's click log in. You can get a free trial of this as well. And what you can do here is say, all right, let's see, seat alerts. I want to be flying from Orlando over to Manchester. And you can specify your dates here as well. This is great if you have a particular date you want to fly, if you have a particular airline you want to do, and flight number and cabins, then you can fill all of this out. I would consider this a little bit more advanced. I don't use Expert Flyer too much because I don't really have specific dates that I always need to fly. I always just use one of these other tools to see when there is already availability, and I just go through there. I don't set up award alerts for myself and then try to figure out how to get on that plane for a specific date. But if that is something that you want to do, Expert Flyer is a good tool to use for that specific purpose. And then the last one we're going to go over is seats.aero, which you've seen me go over on this channel as well. So they do have a free version where you can search within the next 2 months for free. This is great if you are trying to find last minute award space, or if you want the paid version, then you can search up to a year in advance. So let's say that we wanted to find Lufthansa first class, and where there is anything over to Europe, which should be about 87,000 points. And we can see what's available for the next couple months with a free version, which would be like Avianca. You can fly from Chicago to Munich on Lufthansa, booking through Avianca, and it'll cost 87,000 miles in first class, and you would do that on July 9 or July 10. Lufthansa tends to be one of the better airlines that has last minute availability for business and first class. So if that's something you want to experience, definitely check out the free version of seats.aero.
If you're enjoying these step-by-step tutorials so far, please let me know by clicking that like button, leaving a comment, and subscribing to the channel for even more points and miles tips each week. We release a weekly video with these step-by-step tutorials and also weekly episodes of the GeoBreeze Travel podcast, where I interview diverse points enthusiasts from all walks of life about how they approach the game of points. So far, we've gone over some of my favorite tools for finding award space with different airlines, but not every tool out there is great. Here are a couple of tools that I get asked about all the time that I actually would recommend you not use because you'll see why.
I do want to cover a couple of award search tools that I think are just not that good. People tend to ask me, oh, have you tried this one? And these are a couple that I just think most people should avoid. So the first one is Award Hacker. This has been out of date probably since the pandemic hit. So it's about 3 years out of date and many routes are no longer available. So I know that there is now a United route from Los Angeles over to Rome if you wanted to fly one-way business or economy or anything like that. And really, ideally what this would do is it would just say, I want to fly from airport A to airport B, and what are even my options? Like where am I supposed to be searching for flight awards and how much will it cost? So that is ideally what will happen, but this is so out of date that it doesn't even have all of the available routes, and I don't know if all of these routes still exist or if these prices are accurate anymore. I'm gonna guess a lot of them are not. And then you could filter by frequent flyer program or transfer partner. So a lot of them will have the Marriott Bonvoy program as a transfer partner, which I don't really recommend using for flights. I would just recommend using Amex, Chase, Citi, Capital One, or Bilt, which is not integrated into Award Hacker yet. So this one used to be good before the pandemic, but I don't really recommend it anymore since it's so out of date. Another one that comes up sometimes is award fairs. I haven't played with this one too much, and I'm playing with a free trial, but I was searching for this route from JFK to Lisbon on Avianca because there should be a route where you can fly to Portugal. If you book through Avianca, it's gonna be 35,000 points in business class. But when I search for these, there's 0 flights in Journey, so that's cool, even if I don't pick a specific date. Let's try this again. If we go to Award Fairs homepage, and I want to fly from JFK, Lisbon, it just doesn't really give me anything. And you need to upgrade to do custom searches. So I'm not really sure what you can get with this free version, which is a little bit disappointing. So this is another one where let me know if you guys want me to try out the paid version to see if Award Fairs is worth it. But just playing with the free version, there's not a lot that I am able to get out of this particular search tool. I'm clicking through the different features on the site where you could set up alerts, but this requires an upgrade and isn't included in the free trial. Seat maps also requires an upgrade. If you want to look at different seat maps, the 2 sites I would recommend would be SeatGuru, which is free to use, or Aerolopa, which is free to use, and then you can just pick what kind of plane and what airline you want to be flying, and it'll give you a really pretty map of that particular aircraft. Like if you were flying Viva Air's Boeing 777, there's a few different models, and it'll show you here's what business class looks like and here's what economy looks like. So that's the free site that I would use for seat maps. Under tools with flight schedules, you need to upgrade to be able to see that. Release dates, this does look pretty useful because it'll say how many days in advance award searches will open up, and it even dynamically updates what date that is from today. So you can search for example, if you wanted to look on Eva Air, you can start searching for flights that are out to July 3rd, 2024, as of the recording of this, which is, I'm recording this on July 9.
Okay, we've covered a ton of information so far about what tools are available, which ones I like, and which ones I don't really recommend. I'm sure some of you are confused at this point and are thinking, I need an example. How exactly do we piece all of these different tools together? And that tutorial is coming up next. And if you're looking for even more next level ways to make the most out of your points and you're not sure how to do so, we do have a couple of options for you. The first one is through the GeoBreeze Travel Patreon, which you can access through patreon.com/GeoBreezeTravel. Each month, we prepare a members-only video with personalized step-by-step tutorials based on the exact departure airports, destination airports, and points currencies our members request. We also host a group coaching session each month where we often have special topics and deep dives into different programs, and you can ask any questions that you have about earning points, redeeming points, credit cards, or anything else in the open forum group coaching. And we have a lot of people who join the $5 level just to say, hey, thank you for the free content on YouTube, Instagram, and the podcast, and I am forever appreciative of your support. Thank you so much. And the second option is for business owners or individuals who spend more than $100,000 a year on expenses. If that's you, we would love to chat with you about our points portfolio management offer, where we can show you how to get some really incredible luxury travel with the amount of points that you can earn with that level of spend. You can book a free intro chat with us at geobreezetravel.com/intro call. All right, here's an example of how I would use some of the different tools covered in this tutorial to actually piece together an award flight search.
So let's put all of this together. How would we use these free tools to even find this? So what I would do first is go to flightconnections.com. Let's say that we want to go to Bali. The airport code is DPS, and we say, all right, how do we fly to Bali? There's nothing that goes directly from the United States over to Bali, but if we zoom in, we could connect through Japan, we could connect through Korea, we could connect through Taiwan, and we could connect through Jakarta, and Singapore, or Australia. So we would pick one of those airlines to start searching from, or you can go through all of them and say, okay, well, maybe I want to fly Garuda Indonesia between Japan and Bali, or maybe I want to fly Korean Air. These are going to be a little bit harder to find award availability on, so that wouldn't be my first pick. You could maybe do New Zealand with Air New Zealand. That one tends to be a little bit tougher to find. You could do EVA Air from Taipei. That one is Star Alliance, so it's a little bit easier. Or we could do Singapore, because there's a lot of different options between Singapore and Bali. It looks like KLM, Garuda, AirAsia, Jetstar, Singapore Airlines, which is Star Alliance, so that's good. So I would say let's try to find a flight from Singapore to Bali instead, and then work backwards from there, find something from the US to Singapore. So who flies to Singapore? Well, from the United States, you would either need to position to Los Angeles, Singapore Airlines there. There's San Francisco, where you can fly Singapore or United. There's Seattle with Singapore. There's New York. So all of these will have Singapore Airlines that flies over to Singapore, or San Francisco has two options where you could do Singapore or United. So let's say that you are like where I am with Las Vegas, and you're like, I'm just gonna buy a cheap flight over to San Francisco. Let's see if we can get the long flight over the ocean covered with points. At this point, my go-to tool would be seats.aero if I am flexible on dates, and I would say, hey, I just wanna go sometime in the next 2 months. That's free. With the free version, let's explore. Okay, United is here. Singapore is not one of the covered airlines, but I'm actually going to search with Air Canada. And this is where knowing your alliance partners helps, because Air Canada, Singapore Airlines, and United are all part of Star Alliance, and Air Canada tends to charge slightly cheaper prices. So let's search through Air Canada, and we want to go from really anywhere in North America over to Asia, and let's search for Singapore and see where there might be some good availability. Here's some business class availability, but this is pretty expensive. Ooh, that is really expensive. 259,000 points. No, thank you. There are only a few dates available. None of them are direct. All of them are going to be pretty expensive. This one's not too bad. San Francisco over to Singapore, July 11. But let's say that we don't have that many points and we just want to do economy, get that direct flight. There's quite a few flight options from San Francisco over to Singapore. So let's say that we wanted to fly on August 20th. So then we're going to go to Air Canada. We're going to select one way, checkbox, book with Aeroplan from San Francisco over to Singapore on August 20th. And let's just say one adult for now. Search for flights. And here we do see that economy class price of 60,000 points plus 75 Canadian dollars. This one's going to be operated by United instead of Singapore Airlines. But if we say, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with paying 60,000 points to fly direct from San Francisco over to Singapore on United Airlines with points. Let's go ahead and do that. Or you could even modify this to say, let's see if we can do this all the way to Bali. Because once you find the big flight, you might be able to tack on the small positioning flight as well. So it's still going to be 60,000 points. It's not charging you any more for that. Some of these do have different routes, like this one would be San Francisco to Singapore over to Bali. This one actually routes through Australia and is still charging the same amount. So if you wanted 11 hours in Sydney, that is not a bad deal. If you wanted to do that in economy, this one goes through Melbourne, Australia. So you have a few different options there, but that is how I would go from beginning to end of, hey, I want to fly to Bali. what are my options, using flight connections to figure out the routes, using seats.aero to figure out what are the available dates for the routes that I might want to fly and what airlines to search for based off of what flight connections tells you the different airline options are, where all of these were in Star Alliance, and then going to that actual airline and verifying that you see that award availability before you move any points over.
I hope you found those tutorials useful. We have links to the different tools mentioned in this video in the description box, and viewer requests on future topics are always welcome. So please let us know in the comments if there are any topics that you would like for us to do a deep dive on. In the meantime, if you like these types of tutorials, I think you'll really enjoy this video next.